Israel is escalating warnings against Hezbollah in Lebanon, saying it could be forced into a war following increasingly deadly attacks. Recent strikes from the Iran-backed group have caused significant damage as fighting intensifies on the Israel-Lebanon border. Let's bring in Dan Akhrish, our bureau chief here in Dubai. I saw some comments from Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday saying one way or another we will restore security to the north, and things really seem to be escalating on that border. What do we know? What is the latest?
So Netanyahu's comments came when he visited Kiryat Shmona, which is in North Israel, and that's where an unusual blaze happened a couple of days ago because of Hezbollah rockets. So we've seen Hezbollah really ramping up those attacks, right? Drones, rockets, the Katyusha rockets that caused the fire and have caused a lot of also casualties on Israeli side. We've seen Hezbollah militants go really close to the border, and that close proximity is giving them an advantage, right? So these are going undetected by Israeli defense systems. And that is causing alarm among officials in Israel and the Lebanese officials as well. And the rhetoric that we've seen from Israel is also kind of concerning for Lebanese officials. We have from our own original reporting that the Prime Minister is making calls to international Arab partners to try to prevent an all-out war. But they say we don't trust any guarantees from Netanyahu or anyone else, but the one who has to make those calls is the U.S.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you about the diplomatic efforts here, because Matt Miller was saying that they are hoping that there will be some form of a diplomatic resolution and no further intensification. Have we exhausted the diplomatic channels at this point?
I wouldn't say that yet. I think the U.S. has been trying since the war in Gaza to try to come to a resolution between Israel and Lebanon, particularly Hezbollah, and that hasn't worked out, but they were successful in preventing an all-out conflict. So the trading of fire across the border is still happening. And so Israel wants ultimately Hezbollah to move about 10 kilometers away from the border, and we know Hezbollah saying that publicly, that we won't go into any indirect negotiations on any terms without a ceasefire in Gaza. And actually local media reports have said Hezbollah would reject any removal of their forces from that area. But in 2006, Hezbollah, during the war and the end of the war, was forced to make some kind of a compromise. So you never know when the escalation happens and when the pressure is on, things might change.
Yeah, and also keeping a close eye on exactly what happens with those ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas. Again, don't seem to be going in the right direction here. But to that effect, I saw that we do actually have a date now for when Israeli Prime Minister is going to address U.S. Congress. That's going to happen on July 24th. There was some expectation it was going to happen in June. Obviously, it's been pushed back a month. What can we expect from that speech?
I mean, it is significant that he's making the speech to Congress, and I think he will just relay whatever he's been saying for so long, that what they want is three things: the destruction of Hamas and bringing back security to North Israel, and ultimately not to have Gaza be a security existential threat to Israel. And he's going to reiterate that this is for local audience and, of course, for his international partners.